You are listening to The Happy Gynecologist with your host, Amanda Miles, MD. Welcome back, y'all. So glad to have you back. Today, I'm going to give you the first step to beating your burnout. I have broken this down and tried to simplify it as much as I can. And I think that I have finally accomplished this. So I have broken it down into 3 easy steps for you to start feeling better. And I'm going to give you the first step of that today, and I have several options within the first step so that you can start this tonight or right now or on your break. You can start it immediately. Okay. And then next week, I'll give you the final 2 steps so that you can kind of tie it all together. And so I've been so worried about so many of our healthcare workers and physicians and nurse practitioners and PAs and nurses and, respiratory therapists, everybody, all of you guys. I'm so worried about us right now with COVID surging and the holidays, and things aren't normal for us. We aren't getting to do some of the things that we really look forward to around the holidays due to COVID. And it just seems like the COVID numbers are going up. And I know that everybody is really feeling some of this burnout right now. So what I want you to do is, if you're starting to feel this, know that you are not alone and that it can get better. Even if it's as simple as taking 5 minutes at the end of your day before you go to bed to start working on these things, which is exactly what I did whenever I started. I started going to bed 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes before, I normally would, and really carved out that time as time to myself to start focusing on some of this. So let's dive in, okay? And let's remember what, the Medscape Burnout and Suicide Report talks about whenever we talk about what are the most common coping mechanisms from physicians that answer the survey. And if you remember, a lot of those were not good coping mechanisms. Okay, the number one answer was isolating yourself from others. So we're going to get into this about ways to kind of beat burnout, and isolating yourself is not one of them. So some of the other things on the list in the Medscape Burnout and Suicide Report also were decent, okay? So things that are like exercising, talking with your friends and family, sleeping. Then there were things that were answered like eating junk food, binge eating, using alcohol, nicotine, or prescription drugs, using marijuana. Now, some of them are good. We talked about that, okay? Sleep is great, talking with your friends and family, exercising, and we're going to go into that because these are definitely things that are good for our burnout. And we all kind of know that, right? You need to sleep 8 hours a night, and you're supposed to do yoga and stuff, right? That's what every conference ever told me about burnout. But what these conferences didn't tell me was that there is also another process that is contributing to our burnout. And we kind of have alluded to this in some of the previous podcasts when we talk about the primitive brain. And so what I want to offer today is some ways to cope that have come from a book called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. And this is written by Emily Nagoski and Amelia Nagoski. And what they have done is they have done some research, and they've talked about in their book what the stress cycle is and how it contributes to burnout. And so what I think that a lot of our burnout courses fail to realize is that there is, this stress cycle, and I do agree with that. And so I've combined some of their suggestions with some of what helped me through life coaching in general to reduce our burnout. So that's how I've compiled the list that we will be talking about. And so I've really tried to simplify this, though. I'm not wanting to just read you guys a big list of here, go do this, this, and this, and you'll be fixed forever. It's not like that. So I've tried to simplify this into 3 categories, broad categories that you need to focus on. You need to spend some time on to escape your burnout or emerge from your burnout, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So the first step is, number 1, relaxing your mind. Okay. Number 2 is being kind to your body. And number 3 is nurturing positive relationships. And so relaxing your mind, being kind to your body, and nurturing your positive relationships. If you do those 3 things, and we're going to go into details of what these mean, if you do those 3 things, I guarantee you your burnout will be better. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to take a sabbatical. You don't have to get out of healthcare completely. There are ways to cope with this in a healthy manner and help you really thrive. So, in this book that I was talking about, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, Dr. Nagoski talks about what the stress cycle is. And what they liken this to is an example of if you are out on the savannah and you are being chased by a lion and you run really fast back to the village to escape, and you do escape. And then whenever you get there, you are hugging your family, you're crying in their arms, you're cheering and you're celebrating. And then after that adrenaline, that fight or flight wears off, we all kind of laugh and tell stories about how scary it was, and then just kind of laugh and be merry. And so the authors describe this example as this is like a full example of a completed stress cycle. Okay. The running from the lion, the reuniting with the family, those are ways to signal to our brain and our body that it is okay to stop being stressed now because the lion's gone and it's no longer a threat. So these things like running, reuniting with family, laughing, hugging them, crying, they're all signal our brain, hey, it's okay. The stress is gone. You can be done being stressed. So what I like about this is the concept that the stress cycle needs to be completed. And what that means is that if we're stuck in half of a loop, if we never complete the full loop, we can't signal our bodies that it's okay to not be stressed, that it's okay to relax. And so whenever we can't complete that cycle or finish that loop, we get stuck and we end up in burnout. Kind of like we talked about in episode 7, when our primitive brain is in overdrive all the time and we can't find a way to reassure it and we can't find a way to complete this stress cycle. So the good news is we know exactly how to fix our burnout. Basically, by processing our emotions and completing the stress cycle and not being feeling stuffers, we can fix it. So like I said, there are 3 categories that we are going to address. And the first one we're going to address today, which is relaxing your mind. The second 2, being kind to your body and nurturing your positive relationships, we're going to address next week. And I promise to go into all the details of those. So this week, let's talk about different ways that you can relax your mind. These are all things that you can use to signal your brain it's okay to stop being stressed, okay? Any of these categories you can do that with. Pick one category. Start there, okay? I'm going to start by talking about my favorite, which is deep breathing and meditation. Now, before I lose y'all, before you guys are like, nope, next podcast, listen to me, okay? Hear me out. Whenever I started this process, I was like, no way, like this is crazy. And I started by telling myself, okay, I am going to do my Headspace app for 3 minutes before I go to bed. Like I started with 3 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever the minimum was, And what I noticed immediately is that I slept better because I did it right before bed. Oftentimes I would not make it through the 3 minutes before I fell asleep. And so I immediately found that, well, at least it's helping my sleep. And so it took some time to realize that not only was I falling asleep quicker, I was actually sleeping deeper and I felt better whenever I woke up. And I began to notice that I started considering, well, maybe I should meditate whenever I'm on call during the day, like in the morning. And so that was a jump for me because I was very good at falling asleep to meditation. So then I had to figure out, okay, how do I do a meditation and not fall asleep? Which actually, it took me like 1 or 2 times of like, setting up, and I just would sit down, kind of crisscross applesauce, and do a little 2-minute deep breathing meditation. And it was amazing, y'all. It helps me fall asleep whenever I am tired at night. And it actually gave me more energy and made me more positive. I was amazed at what breathing in deep and listening to a little app would do if I only did it for 3 minutes a day. So many apps are out there. I really like the Headspace. Some people like the Calm app. And so there are also tons of free resources on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. And so get out there and just download one, find one, go look up on YouTube, Deepak Chopra meditation, And all you have to do is find a little quiet space, sit down or lay down and listen to it and do what it says. And so the premise behind this is that deep breathing actually downregulates your stress response, right? Think about it, especially whenever you're exhaling really long and really slow. So a lot of the guided meditations will actually have you inhale on a count of 5, hold it for 5, and then exhale for a count of 10. And what we know too is that meditation itself has been around for thousands of years, and the study benefits are innumerable. It decreases the sympathetic response and decreases your cortisol, decreases your stress, improves your sleep. This is all evidence-based stuff, y'all. I had no idea. But once I really got into this, I, of course, started looking into it. And I'm like, well, no wonder it feels so great. And I can literally feel my sympathetic nervous system calming the heck down. And so, in this way, you can close your stress response, close your stress cycle by literally going into the bathroom and taking 5 deep breaths in and out really slow. You can do that anywhere. I do this in my car. I do it at in the bathroom at work. I do it whenever I'm scrubbing in before surgery. And then, like I said, I usually am doing a meditation in the morning now whenever I wake up, and sometimes at night still. If I haven't fallen asleep already, I will do one. Especially if I'm finding it hard to fall asleep or I feel like I'm not tired, then I will definitely do one at bedtime as well. I'm not saying you need to do all that. I'm saying that try it first. Be like me and do the bare minimum at night before you go to bed and see what you think. Okay, see how it does for you. The next option for how to relax your mind would be processing your emotions and or crying. So for some people, having a good cry can really be cathartic. And we've already talked about not being feeling stuffers. And so the thought is that in certain situations, having a good cry can actually release endorphins. It can actually allow you to process your emotions rather than being this feeling stuffer type person. And it can lead you to not look for ways to feel better. And what I mean by that, yes, we always are looking for ways to feel better, but if you process your emotions, you have a good cry, you're not going to be looking through the junk food in the doctor's lounge. You're not going to be scrolling your phone for hours trying to distract yourself from these negative feelings. You're not going to be shopping on Amazon when all you're looking for is kind of that dopamine hit. And so really having a good cry and letting yourself let it all go can be very beneficial. What's really important in this is the component of not allowing yourself to judge yourself harshly or beating yourself up, but offering yourself kind words and naming the feelings that you're feeling and truly processing the emotions. Okay. Bear with me again before you hit next. I know nobody really wants to do this. Okay. I know there's no crying in baseball, but guess what? There is crying in life and in medicine, and that's okay. All it is a chemical cascade that has released tears or water from your eyes. That's it. So don't judge yourself for it. You're not less of a person if you cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. It's simply a thought you're having about your day or about what's going on. You have a thought that triggers a feeling. That feeling has triggered a chemical cascade in your body. That's it. So process those emotions. Allow yourself to cry if you feel like you want to. There is no harm in that. I would also put journaling in this category. Okay. So processing your emotions and crying. I would also put that journaling could go here because journaling is a way to get those negative emotions out. Okay. And so not in like a dear diary, today my day was bad, not in that way. I mean, like, get you a scrap of paper, open up a notes app somewhere on your phone or on your laptop, and just letting your stream of consciousness come out. Don't edit yourself as it comes out. Just put all your thoughts like as they come. I find that I can really type. It's like my thoughts just pour out of my fingers if I'm just typing really fast. Some people write faster and you don't edit. You just like start writing like what's going through your brain. All the sentences that are going through your brain, just try and get them out, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're ugly. And so I actually will take, maybe like a minute or two every morning and do this. I empty my brain out and then I kind of will go back through and review what's in there just so I can see if my thoughts are helping me out or not, see if they're serving me. So I'll go back and examine which thoughts are leading to the feelings that aren't helping me. And I'll look at what result they're creating for me. So I call this a thought download, and I do it every day. It helps me process those negative emotions. And sometimes everything I write down is great and everything is happy and everything is like, hey, everything's great today. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's hard to find any thoughts that are serving me. But this exercise can be very cathartic. Just getting it out, instead of going and yelling at someone you're really mad at, write down all those ugly thoughts on a piece of paper and then just throw it away. Sometimes it's just this built up rage or anger or frustration. You just need to get it out. And so writing it all down on a piece of paper can be very cathartic. And you can do this anytime. So if you're like me and you don't want to like let people see you crying, start here. Okay. It's okay if other people see you cry. This is something I've had to learn over the past year. But if you're not ready for that leap, not ready to take that step, start here. Start having a little rage writing session if you're really upset or you're really angry or you're really ticked off at all these anti-maskers or, whatever's going on for you. Okay. Just put it on paper and don't judge yourself, okay? Because your brain may be having a lot of thoughts you don't agree with, or you don't, you can't control some of the thoughts sometimes, okay? So sometimes if I have some interaction that's really bugging me too, I'll put it down on paper because I want to see the story that my brain has kind of formed around an interaction or something that got me upset. Because sometimes our brains will tell us this big dramatic story and none of it's really that true. And so I like to just put it down and then reread it and be like, that might be a little dramatic. So sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And you just kind of have to do it and practice this. And that is definitely a way to start processing all of your emotions, positive and negative. So the next category in ways to relax your mind, getting out into nature, enjoying nature. And this doesn't have to be complicated, y'all. Some of you are like, I am not outdoorsy. I am a glamper, not a camper, right? Are any of you guys glampers? You guys like require a camper and a shower? That's me. I like that. I like a bathroom. Not that I can't do it. I like my creature comforts. It's okay. Some people like to be really rugged. Hey, I've got mad respect for y'all, but I'll be inside the camper with the AC. If in the cool evening, I'll come out. Anyway, I'm just daydreaming now of camping and glamping now that it's December. Anyway, so some people like to go for walks outside. Some people just like having a house plant. Okay, maybe you have like a little succulent in your window or a little house plant that sits in your kitchen counter. Okay, that's nature. That it is relaxing. Some people like to sit out on the patio at the end of the day, or some people really love going to the beach on vacation. And what I want you to think about is kind of this process. Think about if you are going to the beach on vacation, of course, socially distanced beach, no one else is there. And so think about whenever you're relaxing on the beach, you are signaling to your body that there is no danger in sight and that it is okay to lay out in the sun with your belly up and relax. And so if you think about like an animal, like if you guys have pets, if you have a cat or a dog, and if you think about one of your animals going out in the yard or even just near a window and sunning itself, it's only going to do that and turn its like sensitive belly up to the sun if it knows there's no danger around. So, if we're talking about kind of our primitive brain and our animalistic tendencies, being out and being in nature and relaxing in nature can signal your brain and your body, hey, it's okay. There's no danger here. So, laying with your belly up in the sun is a very vulnerable thing to do in nature. So I think that's why we enjoy relaxing on the beach or on the patio or sitting on a bench out in the park. There's something about the fresh air that is so therapeutic. And even just sunshine hitting your face. I remember in residency, we would go to the cafeteria. We would go outside. We'd walk outside the hospital and then go back in a door closer to the cafeteria just to kind of have that sunshine hit our faces. And that was like almost rejuvenating. Just those 20 seconds of sunshine was therapeutic. And so sitting amongst nature quietly or strolling casually or relaxing outside, or, just admiring your houseplant, watering your houseplant. Finding some way to connect with nature, I really do think signals our bodies that we are safe and we can relax. It's safe. The lion is not here. It's not chasing us. The last and one of my most favorite items in our list for ways to relax your mind is creative expression. And I don't want you guys to be like, yeah, I'm not artsy. Well, it doesn't have to be like that, okay? So things that could be included in this, yeah, it could be artsy. You can paint, you can sculpt, you can play music or listen to music, you can dance, you can tell stories, you can write. I think these are all similar in that you can kind of get lost in a lot of these things, kind of zone out while you're doing them. And not ignoring your feelings like you're whenever we're scrolling on our phone or watching Netflix, you just kind of zone out. But like these are all something you can do while you're thinking and using your brain and you're accomplishing something at the same time, because as humans, we love to accomplish things. So, an example of this that I've recently have been doing, and you guys are probably going to think that I'm 85 years old, but what the heck? I'm 85 years young if you do. I've recently taken up jigsaw puzzles with my oldest daughter, who's turning 6 this week. And how this usually goes is, as you can imagine, doing a jigsaw puzzle with a 6-year-old, she'll usually sit still for like a few minutes working on it. And then she gets distracted by her siblings. And then I'm just there left alone, hanging out and working on this puzzle by myself. And I can say that it has been strangely therapeutic to just sit and do something. I want to say mindless, but it's not. It's like using my mind and being kind of creative and problem solving, but just being with my thoughts while I do it. And so I think a lot of people take up knitting for the same reason. What I mean though is that you just kind of get in a groove and you can zone out with your thoughts if you want to. I'm not sure if you guys do this, but sometimes I'll do this with surgery. I'll just kind of get in a groove and go, and the music's playing in the OR. It's just me and my thoughts, kind of the task at hand. And when you're done, voila, like you have a scarf or a uterus in a bucket or something. Maybe you've completed the puzzle, right? You have something to show for your work and you've accomplished something. You feel good about it. You've used your brain in a way that is not stressful, and it has signaled your brain that, hey, we're focusing on solving this little problem. And it's okay to relax because the lion's not chasing us. We can focus all of our energy into this little project we have. Other ways to do this are simply listening to music. I forget how much I love music until I'm operating, really. And, I think so many times we want to be consuming information. So we'll have NPR or a podcast on in the car, and we forget about how much stress relief we can get from listening to music. Maybe even having like a dance fest or like singing at the top of our lungs in the car. So, you remember doing this. It's so fun, right? I can't carry a tune in the bucket, but I sure wish I could. So I want you to find something little, even if it's just having like a jam session on the way home in your car. Maybe it's just listening to relaxing music. Maybe you have a commute where you ride the subway or the train or the bus. Listen to your earphones, and heck, you can sing and still have a jam session. No one's going to think you're that crazy, probably, like if you live in a big place like New York. And who cares if they do? Who cares what people think? You guys are awesome as you are. So, creative expression in any way. Maybe you're telling a story, okay? Maybe you're telling a funny story to a friend and laughing about it. Maybe you're having a little dance session in your office in between the morning and PM sessions. Maybe you pick up a new hobby like watercolors, or we talked about sculpting. I don't know how you get started with that, but people are so creative. We can just be so creative. You can learn to do anything on YouTube. I'm convinced of it. That's how I learned, started learning how to do watercolors. Is I would just sit down with my paints and I would watch a YouTube tutorial, and it was like a little painting class. I would just do it. And it's so fun, you guys. So you don't have to have a lot of supplies, though, is what I'm saying. Don't get carried away by going to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or one of those stores where you like want to buy all the things. Just keep it simple at first, okay? Listen to some music or do a recycle an old jigsaw puzzle like we're doing at my house, okay? Find something that is just a little creative that lets you sit and think while you do it, or just lets you kind of get lost in it. And yeah, this is something that does sometimes require a little bit more time, but this is something that you want to do. You have to find something you love. And for me, it's just finding little things. I sometimes can't commit a huge amount of time to really completing big projects. So I like to have projects that are going to be finished in a short amount of time. Like maybe I'm going to do a couple scrapbook pages today. It's not a huge commitment. My kids are so young. I don't have time to say, okay, I'm going to finish this painting. I don't have the time for that yet. Maybe someday I will. So I like work on like tiny little paintings if I do a painting, or just a couple scrapbook pages, or hey, I'm going to do this puzzle. And so what this does is it, like I said, it lets you get lost in the process, which definitely signals your brain that, hey, it's okay. We don't have to be stressed. We're not running from the lion anymore. Our stress cycle is complete. We've closed the loop. So these are a few of my favorite things to help you start relaxing your mind, which is step 1 out of the 3 steps or 3 ways to beating your burnout. And so I'm going to fill you guys in on steps 2 and 3 next week, I promise. And they are, remember, they're being kind to your body and nurturing positive relationships. And so we'll go into depth on those more next time. And like I said, you don't have to do all of these. All you have to do is pick one. That's the beauty in this. Pick one and start there. Okay, go take your 5 deep breaths in and out very slowly in your office, or in the bathroom, or in your car. Okay, don't close your eyes if you're driving while you're taking your deep breaths, but that's where you start. You start small and you go from there. You build upon it. So I want you guys to practice one of these things this week. Do it consistently. Find a few minutes each day. Just do it. Okay, you're gonna start feeling better. I know it. Until next week, you guys, if you have any questions, holler at me over on Instagram. All right, bye. Thanks for joining me today on The Happy Gynecologist. If you have questions or comments, head on over to my website, coach-miles.com, or follow me on Instagram at CoachMilesMD. I'd also love it if you left me a review on iTunes. See you next week.